we have to talk about this card again. And if you're looking at what my class is showing right here, you can probably guess the mage card, and a lot of people can probably guess exactly which card I'm going to be talking about. Of course, it is Conjurers Calling. So, as of the new arena rotation, which will come on the 30th of March, if you guys are not aware, this card will be coming back, but not only will it be coming back, it will be coming back as a 3-mana card in its original un-nerfed version. So there are a few reasons. If anyone remembers, there were very particular reasons why this card was nerfed. But there are some very specific reasons, including another card in the same set. This is Rise of Shadows. Magic Trick. Magic Trick is a card that discovers a spell that happens to cost exactly 3 or less. So once Conjurers Calling was nerfed to 4 mana, that made it worse, but still extremely good. But at least you wouldn't see it quite as often because you wouldn't get it off of Magic Trick. But now that will be a thing that changes, assuming that Blizzard doesn't ban this card from Arena and also make it undiscoverable, which they would also have to do. But otherwise we're going to be seeing a whole lot of Conjurers Callings in Arena. So it's not just Magic Trick either. If you look in the new set, which tab here, there are also other ways to discover a spell. Rune Orb is a 2-mana spell in the new set, which will likely have a set bonus because it's a common in the new set. So you will see a lot of these generating a lot of Conjurers Callings, and you will also see a lot of Venomous Scorpids, which is a neutral common, which discovers a spell, which will also generate a whole lot of Conjurers Callings. And not only that, because you have these cards, these spells that discover other spells, it's very, very likely you'll have Magic Trick, which discovers one of these other things. A Magic Trick, which discovers a Runed Orb, which then discovers another magic. Yeah, there's so many things. So if you didn't play in the meta where Conjurers Calling exists, and you don't really know why there's such an uproar typically around this card, why there was, it's such an historically, which led to it getting nerfed. It was actually nerfed largely for constructed because it would be played with particular like giants, and it would create a bunch of stuff that people couldn't really interact with. But in Arena, it was also extremely frustrating to play against. The typical thing, well, there were two main issues with it. One, I should probably be having this card. There were two main ways you would use it. One is if you ever stick a big cost minion ever, you basically just win the game instantly, and your opponent has to clear off anything that you ever play ever, or else you lose. There were like very specific cards. I believe it's in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, a neutral card, like for example, Big Time Rocketeer. This little 6-mana 1/1 suddenly becomes like 12/12 worth of stats if you cast Conjurers Calling off of it, right? There are some very specific combos, and even if, you have, depending on the cost of Conjurers Calling, 9 or 10 mana, you can do that without your opponent having any say about it. But also, a lot of the time, the best way to use Conjurers Calling, at least like the first half of it, this card has twin spells, so you get 2 of them. So oftentimes, what would be the way you would do it is you would play something really big, like, a 4-mana 3/6. Like Proud Defender was a common card that would do, but a more card that a lot of people are probably more familiar with is Water Elemental, just a really big 4-drop that's just not going to die very often. And if you can dream even bigger now, because there's a way to get a 3-mana Water Elemental on coin, you could potentially coin Oasis Alley and then Conjurers Calling on curve to get 3-mana double 4-drops. And there are some pretty crazy 4-drops in the new set, just by the way, because we look at the 4-mana cards here, and like you can get a 5/7, you could get a 5/5, you could even get a 5/10, because this will not have the battle cry, so it will come as a 5/10 taunt. So anytime anyone Conjures Callings a Water Elemental and just happens to get lucky with the 5/10 taunt, they will instantly win the game. And you will move on to the next one, and you will write an angry post on Reddit, basically. So that is what would be going on quite often with Conjurers Calling. So I completely understand why Blizzard is sometimes hesitant to ban cards, but this is a card that has been problematic many times in the past, in pretty much, well, to be completely honest, every meta it's ever existed in. And as high as the power level of Forge and the Barrens is, There are very few cards that I actually really think are cards I would legitimately put on a candidate list of actually being like just way too dumb and should be banned. This might be like the big one that stands out. But other than that, like there really aren't a lot of cards right now that I feel like need to be banned. And I understand like people like to play with powerful cards, but this is just a card that just it's so the randomness of it is just not healthy and it's just leads to such frustrating experiences. You can't play around this card by going face because it literally punishes going face. Like it's such a toxic card, and I think this is one of those examples of a card that really just doesn't belong in Arena, period, and it would just be a better game mode without it. Oh, and by the way, sometimes you can even get it off of Caligos and then double 10 drops. That's great too. And while we're talking about all this Discover, I think it's worth noting that because of all the prevalence of these Discover spell effects, it would be necessary, again, for Blizzard not just to remove the card from the draft, talking about Conjurers Calling, but also make it not discoverable. This is something that we know that Blizzard has the technology to do, but there's a reason I made that poll. They've said that they do not know whether or not they want to remove these kinds of cards. Another card where this card was really relevant for was Runaway Blackwing, because this was another card which was banned from Arena because they knew how awful it would feel to lose to this card. The reason again why you don't see this card too much, I think really right now in the current meta, only Priest really has significant ways to discover this, and you don't see it that often. But one of the things that is changing in the Rise of Shadows rotating in is that lackey generators are back, including neutral lackey generation like Evil Cable Rat, and one of the lackeys happens to be the Draconic Lackey. And the Draconic Lackey will generate dragons. And actually, there would be more dragon generation if Descent of Dragons was in, but because Descent of Dragons is not in, there actually aren't that many dragons in the game, which means the odds of you getting Runaway Blackwing if you do get a Draconic Lackey are actually pretty darn high. So you will be seeing, especially if you are one of these against one of these classes who has more significant lackey generation, Warlock with Evil Genius or Rogue with Evil Miscreant in particular, you are going to be seeing a lot of these games end with Runaway Blackwing. So this is just, again, like, there's a reason I made that poll to see, kind of like show if people generally feel the same way I do, that these are things that we don't want to be deciding games, because powerful cards are cool, but it makes sense to me that cards that are banned for being toxic and unfun, I don't want to be losing to this card that isn't supposed to exist in my game mode just because someone happened to discover it rather than draft it. Like, to me, that doesn't make it better in any way, right? It was removed for a reason. But that's why we have that thread to see everyone else's opinion on that. But yeah, other than that, I guess that's all I really wanted to talk about here. Just a bit of a warning again. I made another video on the cards and I said I'll talk about Conjurers Calling, but this is me talking about Conjurers Calling. So I would like to see this card. I really don't want them to ban too many cards, but I think like this card and this card are my two leading candidates for cards that I hope they ban from Arena. And I would personally, honestly lean towards, they can always unban something if they really think it wasn't that big of a problem, right? Like they can, fail fast if they want to. So yeah, I would rather have them do more rather than less, basically, right? But, that's just me again. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and click the little bell. I never say click the bell, but apparently clicking the bell is important to get you notified for all my new videos. Yeah, it's an exciting time. It's been fun making all these videos, honestly, talking about cards, because I know most of my videos usually are just, arena runs, which are come from my Twitch channel, which you can check out, twitch.tv/kolst, of course, which will be in the description. But yeah, it's been fun. Just so many new changes coming out, so there's just been a lot to talk about. So it's been a really interesting and fun time here. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks a lot for hanging out again, as usual, and we'll see you guys next time.